If you're working on something that you really care about, you don't need to be pushed. Even if it means working for free, your best is all you're going to give in. Hello ladies and gentlemen, thanks for joining me on a brand new episode of The Leading Woman. On today's show, we talk freelance services and volunteering, a gateway for the future. And that is why I have brought to you a guest. She's a very beautiful, young, talented Cameroonian woman that is going to drill us through all of this. First of all, her life is backed by a series of impacts, and I'm going to put all the pictures running on the screen so that you're going to discover. But before we get to meet her, maybe you need to sit tight, fasten your seatbelt, and let's take off together. See right there. I'm coming right back after the break. Welcome back. Thank you very much for staying with us. It's time to meet my guest, and let me start by introducing her. I'm going to give just a little bit about her. I'm going to tell you just a little bit about her, and then she's going to introduce herself so that we can better relate with her on the show. She goes by the name Commy Mussa, popularly known as Commy Mussa. I'm sure by now people are dancing and hailing. I've brought to you one of your celebrities. She is the CEO and founder of amazing, inclusive and humanitarian venture Sister Speak 237. She is the communications coordinator of CBM for West and Central Africa. It's time to meet Miss Commy Mussa. Hello.
Hi, Carisma. I'm happy to be.
Thank you very much for accepting to be on the show. You're welcome. I particularly have a thing for people who are very sensitive, especially people who are very young and then sensitive. Today, I didn't know that she was going to be putting on one of my designs, so I feel very proud right now. I feel like you jumped into the spirit realm and you figured out that I was going to be wearing something from...
No, I was pleasantly surprised when I saw you wearing something. You were wearing matching outfits.
Yeah, because I'm wearing one of the pieces from the Ankara Bliss collection that I created, and then today you came around in one of my designs as well. I am so happy and proud.
I like it.
Thank you very much. So let's get to talk. First of all, today we are talking freelance services and volunteering, a gateway for the future. Now, I brought this topic because I know I was going to be having you around. You're someone who has dwelled in this field for quite a while. But first, let's start by knowing who Commy Mussa is. The name, where you hail from. Tell us about it.
Oh, so my name is Comfort Mussa. My friends call me Commy. I like to define myself as a sister. More than just a sister within my family ranks. I'm passionate about women's empowerment and solidarity amongst women in Cameroon. That's why we started Sister Speak. So I'm a sister in that sense. I'm a storyteller. I'm a journalist. I've worked as a journalist in Cameroon for 14 years now. And I'm a social worker.
Yeah. Which part of Cameroon do you come from?
I come from a village called Kambe in Donga-Maton, northeast region of Cameroon. Okay. Both parents are from that area.
Can you say hello to the people in Donga-Maton in your mother tongue?
People from Kambe speak a language called Nimbo.
Yes. And
I would just say Ira means good morning.
Okay. And how do we respond to that? All I know...
Ira is Ira. You respond with Ira.
I know something, I mean, a little part of it. I know Balike.
Yeni.
Okay.
Balike, how are you? Yeni, I'm fine.
Okay. Yeah. I'm definitely going to get money from Kambe because I speak the dialect
future
somehow. Okay, so let's talk about you and Sister Speak. I see you do a lot of humanitarian work. You vouch for women, children, I don't know. I read all of that from your social media handles. So I wanted to tell us about Sister Speak, the venture. What is it about?
So Sister Speak is today an organization that started out as a blog. In 2014, I'd been working as a journalist for a couple of years, and I was always concerned about stories that I really wanted to tell, which will not make it to the main newscasts because of different editorial lines and different news priorities, both in my local station where I worked and also as a freelance. I used to pitch stories to international audiences, and oftentimes they were not very interested in some of the stories I wanted to tell about the issues, that women in my community were facing. And so I started Sister Speak, as a voice, a platform where we could talk about these issues that do not make it to mainstream media. And over the years, it became more than just my voice on the blog. Other women started speaking, and I discovered that I could not talk for every woman, but I could empower other women to speak for themselves, and I could amplify their voices. And so it grew into a network, and we eventually got registered as an organization that is training women and other minority voices and supporting them, and helping them gain skills that can make them speak for themselves, amplify their voices, and also make their actions very visible. So Sisters Speak is about voice, and it's about agency.
Okay. Now I see moving from a blog to an organization, that is drastic growth. And I want to believe that along the line there must have been some challenges that you have faced, or has everything been rosy? Show us the challenges.
Nothing is ever rosy when you talk about growth. Even a child learning to walk, you take a few steps, you fall, and then that's how you learn to walk, by falling. And so when I started out with Sisters Speak, many people were not comfortable with some of the things I was sharing on the blog, because I wanted to break silence on many things. I wanted to break silence on backstreet abortions, on women negotiating for safe sex. I would talk about use of condoms on radio, and people are like, we don't want to hear this. Yeah. And I would talk about rape and kids raped at home by their relatives. People don't want to talk about those things openly. And I would talk about women harassed on buses in Cameroon where they travel by night. People are not comfortable with taboo subjects, and that's why we started Sisters Speak in the first place, to break the silence on this. So it was met with some opposition. The people who thought I was teaching women, in quotes, bad fashion. Yeah. I know you can't talk about this, we don't want, but and so there was that resistance. Yeah. And it wasn't just they thinking that we were talking about things we didn't have to talk about. I had complaints from my complaints right to my parents, and I started I was bullied online a lot, and even offline. So there's been this resistance, but to me it was expected, because we were breaking the silence of issues. And the resistance was expected, and it just encouraged us to grow and do better, so that people can accept our realities. And also moving from being a lone blogger to training other women, to having a formal setting that now operates nationally, came with its own challenges, but we welcomed them as part of our growth process.
And today we are having you on the leading woman, which definitely means that those challenges didn't knock you down. You have built something that is a legacy that's going to live on. Now, talking about you as a communicator, first of all, you are the communications coordinator of CBM for West and Central Africa. People, that means international. She's not just national. But we're going to talk about CBM some other time. Today, I want you to take us down memory lane. Tell us how you started. You earlier mentioned that you've been doing this for 14 years.
Yes,
professionally for 14 years. I want you to take us down memory lane. Tell us how you started, the people that you've worked with in communication particularly, yes, and how you got to this level.
I think journalism and storytelling is probably the profession I was meant for, because for as long as I can remember sitting on the couch with my father when I was 4 or 5 watching news. I mean, which kid watches news? But I would watch news and I would discuss with my dad. And in my primary school, St. John's Primary School, Funchess Street, we had this thing in the morning during roll call, where they would ask the kids to come and repeat what they heard on news the night before or the morning of the same day where they were doing it. And for as much as I can remember, I was always, going up to read what I heard on CRTV. So from when I was a kid, I was fascinated by words and the power that words had, not just on me, but on everybody. And when I went to secondary school, PSS Mancon, I became a member of the school magazine editorial team when I was as young as 14 or 13, I can't remember, Form 2, Form 3. And I was part of the editorial team till I left school, writing articles, winning literature prizes here and there, writing short stories. So when I left high school, journalism, felt like the natural thing, for me to get into. And I studied journalism, and when I graduated, I have worked as a journalist and comms expert all my life. And those who helped me on my journey, Ansan, God bless her. So she had such a big impact on me. There are times when for months I have her as my screensaver on my laptop, because watching Ansan as a kid showed me what is possible. She was this one woman whose voice changed the agenda for the whole country. In Ansan's voice, I found my voice. And I had some sort of mentorship from her, because the few times where we met and I would ask her questions, or I'll send an email and she would respond and say, this is the way, this is what you should expect, and this is how you should respond to issues. And so Ansan has been a tremendous impact for me locally. Internationally, I have people that I respect and I love, and I read their stories and I'm inspired by their words. Oprah Winfrey. And locally, I have mentors. So I have Omar Songwe. He's a veteran journalist. He's my mentor. And I have Gideon Taka. He's also a professional mentor, because we have mentors in different aspects of our lives. I'm talking about my professional mentors here.
Wow,
and I still depend on them to date for counsel, for advice, for coaching.
Okay. Wow, amazing. I want to give a big shout out to all those people who inspired you from childhood right up to this extent. Now, working as a freelancer for as long as you have, I want you to tell me, what are the benefits, or how has this been beneficial to you personally in your career?
Okay, so for me, when I started out at the local radio station in Bamenda, it was a good space, and I'm grateful for Radio Hot Cocoa. That's where I started that's where I started my journalism career. I started freelancing for 3 reasons. I wanted to be part of a bigger ecosystem, because Radio Hot Cocoa was limited to Bamenda and the towns around. I wanted, to be part of a bigger, space. And so I would pitch stories to media houses out of Cameroon. And also in pitching stories to media houses out of Cameroon, I was also learning how to write for a global audience, which is an experience I wasn't able to get at the time at Radio Hot Cocoa. And also for the money. As a freelancer, I would make more money than when I was at my radio station. So these are the 3 things that motivated me to go freelance. Freelance is different from volunteering.
Yeah, because lots of people don't really get to understand.
So I did volunteering, and I also did freelance. So freelance is just, I was not tied to a particular media house. And so in the past, I've reported for Radio France, I've reported for Al Jazeera, I've reported for many other outfits, but I am not the staff. But I can pitch a story, and if it's good, I get commissioned to write the story, but I'm not staff, because I have a regular job, which that's what I did with freelancing, and then volunteering on the other side. For me, the motivation to volunteer wasn't money. It was a passion for the things I wanted to do, things I would do for no pay, and things that for me are a calling and are tied to my purpose.
Lots of people don't feel good about volunteering, or they feel different. Everybody has their own definition to volunteering, to freelancing, until you have to break it down for us right now to get the difference. But most people don't feel that volunteering is important or can be a gateway for their future. I want you to paint a picture of how volunteering can actually bring your dream job to you, because lots of people would not do it, especially because they know that they're not getting paid. Once if they're not getting any motivation, maybe it's a transport fare and all of that. But I want you to paint a picture as someone who knows these things, who has been on the field and knows these things, how much volunteering can bring your future closer to you.
I always say that when purpose is not known, abuse is inevitable. What is volunteering, and why do you want to volunteer? People need to define these things for themselves. So if you go to a neighborhood and there is a road that is overgrown, or a gutter that is blocked, and the youth come out, to take the trash out of the gutter, or to cut the grass that is overgrown in their neighborhoods, that's volunteering. Because there's probably council service for that, but it doesn't happen, and then youth get up and say, you know what, let's come together, let's sharpen our machetes and cut the grass. That's volunteering. who's going to pay you for that? You know, but you know that in taking out the trash from that blocked gutter, you will not have a flood in your neighborhood. So it's why do you volunteer and how do you do it? And there are people who have left university and they're like, okay, now that I don't have a job, maybe I should go to this local NGO in my city and, you know, and while time, you know, while looking for a job. If that's why you want to volunteer, then your purpose is clear. People, your motivation for doing it should be clear from the onset. There are many youth who are volunteering because they want to gain some work experience and they want to you know, plug into a system where they're connected to people in a particular industry so they can get a job. It's a good thing to do, it's a smart thing to do instead of just sitting at home. And sometimes you may get paid, other times you may not get paid. And I want to strike a balance here because there are other companies that exploit young people. And you know, the young people work and you know they're not paid, and then the bosses call it volunteering. So you need to be sure what you want and you need to negotiate. You know, you need to negotiate. But for me, volunteering has always been part of giving back to society. And when I volunteer, I'm not doing it with expectations that I will be paid, you know, remunerated in the way. So in my city in Bamenda, I volunteered at the local orphanage where I would go every Saturday and just talk with the kids about vision and purpose. I volunteered in my campus fellowship where every Sunday we would coach students. And for me, my reward was seeing people, you know, grow into their purpose and live their best life. So what is your motivation for doing what you want to do? If it's to give back to your society, fine. If you want to gain a new skill, fine. Define that for yourself. And if you're going to volunteer at an orphanage or at an NGO, be willing to negotiate. You may say, okay, I want to come here every day, but I don't have transport fare, but I'm willing to give it for free. And you guys will negotiate. Some companies will support you, others will not support you. It's on a case-by-case basis. And so I can't speak authoritatively and say this is the only way to volunteer. No, you can volunteer within your means, and volunteering is giving what you have. It's of your time, of your talent, of your skills, and it's left for each and every one of us to define that for ourselves. And but personally, I would say it's been very rewarding. As an individual, it's been very rewarding, and it's opened doors that I wasn't expecting.
Great.
So I work today for an international NGO that works with persons with disabilities, but prior to this job for 4 years, I volunteered in disability rights and community mobilization for persons with disabilities in the town where I live. And I did it because I love working with persons with disabilities, and my dad is a person with disabilities, and I just wanted to give back and make life better for persons with disabilities. So I did it for 4 years, not expecting any pay. But in that time, I gained a lot of skills that when an opportunity came and I applied, I was qualified for the job. So that's a reward I didn't have in mind when I set out. So yes, it can open doors, sometimes doors that you don't expect.
Wow. But first you have to know what motivates you and the reason why you want to do it. That's why I started off by saying that when you're working on something that you really care about, you don't need anyone to push you. You simply just giving your best because you know how much that means to you. Stay with us, don't go anywhere. When we come back after this break, we're going to talk more on volunteering and how much it can bring your future close to you. Thank you for staying with us. It's good to have you back. And if you are just joining us, you are watching the Leading Woman Show. And today we are talking freelancing and volunteering, a means or a bridge between you and your future. Freelancing and volunteering can actually bring your future closer to you. And today I have as guest Miss Commy Mussa, one who has been on the field of volunteering and at the same time freelancing in her life. Is backed by a series of awards, I would say. And today, Commy, you had more than, or I would say approximately 12 international awards, and most of these has been instigated by your freelancing and volunteering works. I want you to tell us about those awards.
So I've been blessed by some of the work I do has been recognized in very different quarters, and it's interesting that the awards I've had out of, well, more than 12, when I look at the work that inspired it, I didn't set out wanting an award. So I set out just wanting to serve. I set out wanting to make my world a better place. And then I ended up with recognition from different quarters. So my motivation for the work was not always the recognition, but the recognition for different things I've done would come as a bonus.
Yes.
And like I was just saying during the break, sometimes you volunteer and the reward will come to you as a surprise, as a pleasant surprise. Just in June, July, I received the Commonwealth Points of Light Award from the Queen of England.
Yeah.
And when that came to me, I was really pleasantly surprised, because the work that earned us that award was purely voluntary. I'm very honored to receive this award today, and on behalf of all the volunteers at Sister Speak 237, we thank Her Majesty the Queen. We thank the High Commissioner of UK in Cameroon for giving us this award and for recognizing the work that we do. And we want to use this opportunity to encourage other Cameroonians to keep asking themselves the questions, what can we do? Because there's always something you can do to make your community a better place and to make life better for other people. And this means a lot for us, and it's an encouragement for us to do more. And you know, I sat with my team, and it's an award I share with my team at Sisters. We sat down and we said, okay, now there is COVID. What can we do, you know, to amplify the voices and the needs of persons with disabilities in Cameroon, women and persons with disabilities? What can we do to help? That's how it started. And you know, we put money together and bought care packs and went out and distributed, and just sat down with some women with disabilities in the group we visited in Yaoundé, and we're asking them, what are your needs and what can we do to help? And this is not something we publicized or raised funds for. We just truly wanted to make a difference. And then, you know, one thing led to another. We had 2, 3 different interventions. And you know, before we knew, we received this email saying you've been, you know, nominated for this award. And the interesting thing is, the day I got that email notification, I was on the field with my team, and I was like, hey, look at what has happened. And you know, it was very comforting for us that someone, you know, noticed what we were doing and appreciated us. And it's not just this. Even some of the stories I've written as a journalist that have earned me awards nationally, on the continent, and even globally are stories. Most of them were not stories that my editors commissioned. They're stories that I sat back and I was like, I think this is an issue that needs to be reported on. For example, the story that got me the Global Prize for Excellence in Epilepsy Award globally. That's a story I sat down, I talked with persons living with epilepsy, and how there are myths, you know, around the condition and the challenges, and I really just wanted to do a story, you know, that would bring these issues to a global stage. And I put in, you know, I traveled out of town, I had to go to Bafoot for the story, I was on a bike, and for me, my motivation was, we need to get the story out there. And then, you know, the story went out, and, you know, it came back with an award, and there are many of such stories I can share with. I was doing this thing, you know, just wanting to give my best, and then at the end, the impact, you know, came along with a bonus of an award. And I'm emphasizing on this because now there are youth who want to do things because they want to be recognized.
Exactly.
That is the wrong way to go about it, just giving your best. And that's why I was talking about, what is your motivation? If your motivation is fame, it may not always come. But I think we are on earth for a purpose. Give your purpose, give it the best you can, and nature knows how to reward you. So yeah, volunteering has brought me a lot of these benefits and exposures and awards, but that was not the motivation.
Exactly. Now, as you were talking, something that marked me, you said when you were receiving the award, the email that came through with the award from the field, you were on the field. That is what marks me, because you know, a couple of people who go out there because of this award, who are motivated by awards, by what they will get back from the public and probably maybe the nation. You know, sometimes when they receive, I want to believe that this award from the Queen of England wasn't the first for you.
Well, it was the first from the Queen.
Okay,
but it wasn't the first award
you were
I've
receiving.
had in my career.
Great, that's the point I'm trying to make, because if it was the first award, I'm going to understand. He mentioned the few, which means that you've had a couple of awards, but because you were not motivated by those awards, you stayed in the field and you kept doing the work.
Oh, because I was not limited by them.
Yes, you were not limited by them, but for some other person, when they get probably the first award, which is what motivated them, the work ends.
Success has a way of limiting some people. Because if getting Facebook likes, you know, there are people who do things because they want to get Facebook likes. I mean, we need to grow beyond that kind of feeble thinking. But if getting an award is your motivation, then when you get the first one, you may not want to continue writing your songs, you may not want to continue giving your best to produce movies or writing stories, you know. But if your passion is bigger than human recognition and validation, trust me, when you write one story, you have ideas for two more. Because if that is your drive, and I encourage youths when I talk with them, I tell them the blessing is in the field. It's not about who has recognized you, it's not about which trophy you've received, it's what is your purpose. And if you're truly driven by purpose, tomorrow, yesterday will always be the enemy of your tomorrow, because I could rest and say, hey, I've had over 10 awards in my career, now I can retire. But for me, it hardly even occurred. I don't think about that when I go out. I don't carry it, you know, on me, because there's more work to be done. There are more lives to be impacted. The hunger for the things I want to do are still, you know, burning and keeping me alive. I'm thinking of what can we do better? How can we upskill this? And so, honestly, I think about the recognitions sometimes when I'm feeling in my seat. It's when I, you know, then after, but otherwise, every day on the road and on the field,
purpose has to count first.
It's purposeful.
Yeah. Now, I've been talking with a lot of young Cameroonian girls particularly, and most of them make me understand that it is difficult for them to find the opportunities of volunteering jobs, you know, and all of that. I want you to tell us, maybe there is a website, a particular website that you went to get these opportunities, or how do you come by these opportunities?
Maybe there is a website where you can go to, but I didn't use a website to find opportunities. I think that problems gravitate towards the solutions. I heard this from a preacher like 15 years ago, and it changed my thinking. And just yesterday, this is what I was telling the girls who live with me at home. Problems gravitate towards their solutions. You may go to a website and see opportunities to volunteer. There are many organizations that have calls for volunteers. That's one way to find opportunities, right? You can go on the internet. But an easier way to find opportunities that suit you would be to look around you. The things that disturb you, the things that cause you to lose sleep at night, are things that, for me, you know, they're tugging at you and pulling you in a direction that you should go. Everybody can watch a newscast and not see the problem of lighting. But you know, a good engineer, you know, TV studio engineer, you look at it and like, this lighting can be better. You know, they look at movies and they're seeing what can be better. They have an eye. That is what catches them. Another person will look at it and be like, the makeup on set is terrible. We need to fix this. You know, the problems you notice are an indication of the solutions you carry. And also the things that hurt you. So if you're in your neighborhood and the grass or the blocked gutter is what is troubling you, maybe you have a solution to it. So problems gravitate towards the solutions. I think take a look at what, just really critically think about what bothers you. What would you want to fix? What do you notice? For me, it was issues about silence. I'm a journalist and I like breaking the silence on issues. Silence bothers me. My niche area is social justice. Injustice troubles me, you know. I would lose sleep over it. I want to go out and make things happen. That's how, you know, I look at the problems and the things that bothered me, and I wanted to make change. So you can start from there. Maybe you're worried about the way youth in your quarter just sit. You know, you pass every day and like, these youth are sitting here, they're doing nothing. They ought to be doing so and so and so and so.
Yeah.
And nothing has bothered you for more than 3 months. Maybe there is something you can do to bring them together and talk with them and coach them. Maybe you're fascinated with hair. It's not always about civil society work. There are people whose fascination is hair. You know, I know girls who would plait on everything, even grass.
Yes.
You know, they're in the field and they're braiding grass. There is something, you know, in there for the girls. So think about your passion, think about your talent, think about what causes you to lose sleep, think about what problems you notice. These are opportunities.
Wow.
And then you can now start looking at, but what can I do in this area? Where can I serve and where can I explore, you know?
Wow, amazing. I'm not going to say any other word after that. But for sometimes, Commy, we want the people that we look up to paint a picture of the future for us to see before we believe that we can actually grow to live our dreams. Now, for a young girl out there who wants to climb the ladder of leadership, will you say that women who are looking up to leadership positions, there is a future for them?
Yes, the future is, I would say, is brighter now for the young woman in Cameroon than it has ever been, because we have more tools available, we have more tools and we have more examples. So before, you would look in media, for example, you're a girl who wants to be a sports reporter. When I was growing up, you would look in the sports room and you see no woman. And so that alone would discourage women because, you know, there's no example and you're not seeing a possibility because it didn't exist. But today you have women in sports rooms, you have women who are pilots, you have women that have blazed the trail and shown us what is possible. So we have more tools, we have more examples, we have more paths that have been, you know, the paths are open for you, and there are also possibilities that you need to create for yourself. I'm not saying all that women can accomplish has been accomplished in Cameroon, but we're yet to have a female governor and things like that. But I feel that we need to create opportunities for ourselves, but I think that we have more opportunities, more tools, more examples, and more platforms to shine. I would encourage young girls not to aspire only for a position, but aspire to be the best version of yourself. Because when we're talking about leadership position, it's a place that you want girls to go to. But I think the best form of leadership is being of yourself. So best form of leadership is be the best doctor you can be the best student, be the best hairdresser, be the best version of yourself. That's what I aspire to do every day. Are there stories that I have not yet told? I want to tell these stories. And when you're the best version of yourself, if you can lead yourself, you can lead, you know, others. So beyond aspiring for positions, I think we should aspire to be the best version, you know, of ourselves, not waiting for validation. Too many women are waiting for permission from society and validation. Just don't wait for validation, don't wait for permission, you know, create your reality, create your future, and be the best you can be.
Wow. So, Commy, aside from articulating so beautifully, talking so well, fluently, I don't know what else you don't do well.
I talk for a living.
You talk for a living. And I actually feel like this session shouldn't end, but we are coming right to the end of it. And I'm going to ask one last question on behalf of a young girl out there who is watching us and who is having dreams of becoming a leader someday in any field that they want to become. So I want you to tell us, like, give us a common trait, or let me say a common motivation, for someone who wants to become a leader tomorrow. Are there particular steps that you think they should take in whatever field they want to be? Are there particular steps that you think they must take to be able to make it to the top?
I think everybody has their path, and they have their path that they need to walk. So what worked for me may not necessarily work for another, but I can talk about what has worked for me. And for me, is discover your purpose. Purpose is big for me. Why are you here? When you discover your purpose and you know your uniqueness, it's easy for you not to be distracted. Too many young people are distracted and they're losing focus. Today they want to be like Samuel Eto'o. No, tomorrow they want to be like Barack Obama, and then the next day they want to be like Fali Epupa, you know, and you know, they move by what is trending per time. But I think that you need to know who you are. What are you here for? Your uniqueness, and you need to tap into that, and you need to do it consistently. Because I've seen girls who tell me today, makeup artists, they want to conquer the world through, you know, the makeup brush, and then tomorrow they want to do catering.
Yeah.
And I'm not saying you cannot be a makeup artist and be a caterer, but you know, too many people are touching things and dropping and touching and dropping. Consistent for me is an ingredient for success. You need to be good at something and do it over time and be the boss in that thing. You can of course be several things, but be consistent, know who you are, be focused. And another thing that has helped me a lot is never stop learning. I used to say I had more books growing up than I had shoes. True, I had more books because I invested a lot. I mean, I would buy books with my money, and when my dad calls me till today, we discuss books sometimes. I'm like, Dad, I'm reading this, and I'm like, can you send me a copy and we exchange, because there is a lot that I've learned through reading. There's a lot that I've learned through reading. There are a lot of secrets for growth. You learn about other women, you learn about other people in your industry, and today with the internet, don't go on internet just to look at fashion. You know, there's a lot you can read, there's a lot you can learn, there are questions you can ask mentors. So I encourage you to keep learning, to keep widening, you know, your mind. Don't think you've arrived. If you've released one album, you can release 90 more. Don't rest there. Keep learning, be unique, be consistent, be focused. That at least has worked for me.
Wow. Wow, amazing. I mean, while you were busy having books, I was busy having shoes. So you grew reading and I grew wearing shoes. I think now I know why I stress a lot to do the things I do. But I'm getting over all of that.
Books.
Yeah. I'm getting more books. But bottom line is you have to discover your niche, find your purpose, then give out the best of who you are. Thank you very much, Commy, for being on the show.
Thanks for having me.
Your story is an amazing one, and it's going to change lots of lives. Thank you very much. It's on this note that we are going to take leave of you, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you for staying with us. Always remember to subscribe to our YouTube channel and turn on the notification bell so that you don't get to miss on any other